Thank you very much, and thank you everyone for coming out. I know usually attendance is not that great in these weekly seminars. You showed up, that's a good thing. By the way, most of you know what I do. Some of you probably have not interacted, especially PhD students. Today, my talk is not directly hitting on what currently I am doing. Of course, I will cover that part, but I have something else in my mind today. Okay, I'll walk you through my own research journey. How many of PhD students are here? Significant. Okay. So maybe it may be little useful later for you, those who are graduating, when you look for jobs in academia, industry. There are you find sine waves. Sometimes you're very enthusiastic about applying for jobs. Sometimes things are not working out well. So I also had similar tortuous path, which some of you will be going through, some of you are already facing it, and it will come at some point in our lives, right? So I thought it would be a good idea to open those untold stories which I have never shared with my students. So this is the time when I can do that. So that's why there is a disclaimer. This is a very casual stroll through my research journey. I'll start from PhD, what did I do in postdoc, after coming to Satara, and so on. Okay, and I think the underlying point here is, if you are expecting that you are going to get a lot of research insights from this presentation, I don't want to disappoint you. You may not get that, but that's okay. Sometimes you don't have to. You just enjoy all the messiness that I'm going to create now. Thank you. Okay, so before I begin, I think this is very important for all the audience to know who's speaking, where is he coming from. Okay, so I am just completing the circle. I started my master's research journey from IIT Kharagpur, went to University of Illinois for PhD. I did some work as faculty at University of Wisconsin, and then I joined IIT Bombay. So yeah, you can say it's almost completing the circle. And I don't intend to go to IIT Kharagpur. Okay, so what did I do there? So there is a timeline that you can see. I spent about 3.5–4 years at University of Illinois. So this is in Midwest of the US, and what it says is my focus was on first generation ethanol. Some of you already know that. Some of you have taken my class on biofuels. And this was sort of a buzzword, back in 2005, everybody was talking about biofuels, and give you context to that later. So I finished my degree 2009. I was also a postdoc for a while. Then I joined University of Wisconsin 2010. Worked on second generation biofuels, which is essentially non-edible sources of biofuels. We worked on that, and I also looked at biochemicals production and so on. This is all in US context, okay? And you will see later on, the kind of things I dealt with. And later on in 2013, I came back to India, joined IIT Bombay, January 2013, and I'm still continuing my journey, doing a lot of unlearning and learning, and developing better understanding of the world around me and around us. So now what I am doing, research areas, I think most of you probably have seen me talking about these things. I have, since this won't work here. This is something I started off my research with. Later on, I looked at waste to wealth, waste to health, all those concepts. When you bring them together, we realize that actually health is wealth. So health cannot be neglected, and in this particular presentation also, I have major chunk of this, I'm going to talk about. We also looked at post-harvest technologies. One of the examples that you will find in recent past is we have a team of students who were winner in an Grand Challenge. So that is essentially part of post-harvest technologies part. And we have Nilesh right here, who was one of the team members, a leading team member, I would say. Okay, so let me back up here a little bit. Let me give you a context how this whole thing started for me. So way back in 2005, I graduated from IIT Kharagpur. I mean, theoretically I was a topper and I did not get job. Okay? I sat in, you will not believe, some of you already know it, I sat in Infosys company and I did not get selected. Okay? Infosys is the company who takes in mass. 200 लोगों को ले लिया, 300 लोगों को ले लिया, बट मेरा नहीं हुआ। और आपको मालूम है ऐसे में क्या होता है, सबकी उम्मीदें जो रहती है उसके साथ क्या होता है। So I was the one who was facing that, trend. And at the same time, 2005 was the year when United States RFS, Renewable Fuel Standards Program, launched, and they were essentially looking at fate of biofuels in global context. Of course, US was a prime one because RFS was meant for US. If you look at their energy policy, EIA, they were all talking about that. They were talking about how to increase biofuel content, especially and specifically in bioethanol. Okay, so that was happening in the US. During the same time in India, 2003, we released our first national biofuel policy. Okay, and our goal was pretty modest that time. If we could able to, blend at least 5% of ethanol or bioethanol into regular gasoline or regular petrol, I think that's a good beginning for India. So that was essentially the mandate for India at that time. United States is, if you look at how they produce alcohol, bioethanol, it's largely coming from corn or maize. Okay, so their focus was we have enough material, raw material available, so we should be able to reach up to 15 billion gallons mark. Now, gallon is very different from liters. It's almost 4 liters. So we are talking about 60 billion gallon mark. And let me put these things in perspective. How much petrol do we use in India every year? Roughly, it's of order of roughly 30 billion liters. And you see what you look at the magnitude of biofuel that they use in US. It's a huge number. So this was sort of it's not planned from my side that I'm going to jump into the bandwagon because there are RFS and so on. Just like any regular student, I applied in different places. I got in Penn State, I got in Washington State University, I got in UIUC. फिर मैंने क्या किया next? I compared कहाँ पे scholarships आ रहे हैं. I did not realize वो कर क्या रहे हैं. Probably it didn't occur to me so somebody was working in advanced plasma research in processing. Somebody was doing some particle physics related work. And I applied in non-food area. No relation with mechanical, no relation with agriculture, engineering and so on. My target was कैसे तो पहुँचते हैं US से figure out करेंगे क्या करना है. And essentially my focus was कहाँ पर ज़्यादा मिल सकता है. Right? So we are always looking for that. That was the beginning. So yeah, so I ended up in UIUC. Probably that was a good decision. UIUC was doing really well in terms of ranking. It was extremely good. And their mandate, if you look at it, if you look at RFS, their focus was how can you bring this domestically produced biofuel and use it across the country. And this is coming from one of their papers. Sorry, the reference is missing here. But you get the idea. You get imported oil, domestic oil, all that, gasoline coming out. From there you mix biofuel, and finally you are going to mix it in regular gasoline pumps. That was the idea. And I will remind you, you remember 9/11 happened? Because of 9/11, there was a huge push towards domestically produced biofuels. Okay, a lot of it, a lot of this happened because of that. And I'll ask you to focus on this particular slide. This 2005 is where I came in. Okay, here. But look at this period, right from 1999 to almost 2009 or 2008. What you will observe is, when I came, that was still 2005, we are already ramping up in terms of cost of the price of gasoline per gallon. Okay, 1999, this was almost $1.7, $1.8 per gallon. मतलब $1.8 में 4 लीटर मिलता है आपको पेट्रोल US में. तो आपका PPT is not making sense there अगर आप इंडिया से कंपेयर कर रहे हो, right? What happened? Because of all that 9/11, there are many other external forces. What exactly happened? This price has shot up quite significantly. Now one has to pay $4. And I'll remind you, US, if you look at how US transportation works, it's not like our transportation like in India. यहाँ पर तो ट्रेन से आप बैठ जाओगे, 1000 लोग बैठ जाएंगे, एक साथ चले जाएंगे, वहाँ पर ये कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं है. Okay, airlines also not preferred. Everything is preferred on road. see here, you see this person with a vehicle who is going to ready to tow this car. So this guy says, oh, I am not broken down. I just thought you would be cheaper than buying gas. Okay. So this was the real situation, and I would not call it this an opportune time when I came there, but somehow I ended up going there, and I could witness change in price of gasoline in these 4 or 5 years, and you can clearly see, right, how this is exponentially increasing from $1.89 to $4, almost $4, and that's a huge implication on the country. Okay, so that's one part. Then something happened. You see that peak and there is a downfall. Does it remind you of something? Great recessions in US, Lehman Brothers, and everything, right? So then you see that there is a drop right because of that. Okay. So focus was, so US said, okay, that's fine. We have to create capacity to be able to produce our own fuel. We have large tracts of land available. If you go to Midwest area in the US, you will find cornfields, thousands and thousands of hectares. You just, but wherever you see, these are large fields, huge fields. And those fields can be utilized for this purpose. And their farmers are not like our farmers. These farmers, they hire PhD students for their work. It's very interesting, right? So these biofuel companies, these farmers are having these biofuel companies. Okay? And that's very interesting. So I also worked on one of the problems where a group of farmers sort of sponsored that particular project. And idea was, how can you improve the efficiency of this corn-based ethanol production? I'm not going to take you through the whole thing. It's going to be complicated. Some of you will trust me. My point is that this process, if you know how to make beer, it's very similar. Okay, you have corn, there you use barley, you process it, you do some magic, finally you get alcohol. Okay, and use application you can decide whether you want to put it in car, you want to consume it, whatever it is, right? So you get this biofuel that should ideally go for transportation purpose. As simple as that. So then I worked on it for 3.5 years, struggled, slog, everything I did. I know what you are thinking. Sir, this slide say me, हमको बोलते हैं कि घर के लाएगा words. This slide is too wordy. Now you know how it feels when you're on the other side. It doesn't really help you, right? So this is to remind you again that you should not do this mistake. And I'll break it up for you what exactly I did during those years. It is very difficult for you to decode all that I have written. But if you look at this simplified diagram, I essentially worked on these circled items. Each unit operation that you see, I had 1 or 2 objectives or task elements within that, and I worked on that. Those who are mechanical engineers, there are mechanical engineers in this class. Okay, so I'll give you one example which you can identify with. One part here you see is evaporator. Okay, evaporator task is very simple. You take liquid stream, it will remove moisture, it will concentrate whatever feed stream is coming in. It could be as simple as milk. Milk आया with 10% solids, milk गया with 50% solids. So आपने water remove किया, उसको concentrate किया. It's that simple. This is one of the things that I was looking at. In conventional biofuel process, you actually use multiple effect evaporators. My proposition was, good or bad, that can we replace this with membrane system, which is non-thermal system. Okay, chai ki channi jaise, basically membrane system where you can filter simply, right, based on its pore size. And I was working. Sorry, this picture is not very good because this was clicked in December. Aircraft actually. So this is Lincoln Land Agri LLC in Illinois, in Peoria, Illinois, where this was my current movie. I actually worked with this particular industry, ethanol company. So idea was simple, somehow get rid of this water and take care of this evaporator. Do not use evaporator. So that was my one of the objectives. And I just thought it would be a good idea to show you what exactly I did here. So here my goal was do modeling and simulation. So these are the parameters that you see here. And finally you come up with a very complicated nonlinear constraint optimization problem which you need to minimize, and there are constraints. In order to get one single curve, I had to work very hard for more than 3-4 months I shifted to Siebel Center of Computing, and I did work there very hard. Okay, this is Siebel Center, and I did play very hard there in order to get, I think Rupal understands better. If you want to do really good job, you have to have some physical activity. So I was following her in anticipation. And this was my lab where we actually modeled memory system and operator system and all that. This is also, by the way, 2 AM picture, but in other lab. This is that curve I was talking about. I had to spend 4 months to be able to get this one curve. Okay, so that was pretty hard. And of course, just like everybody else, I could also publish some work, in journals. And at some point, I actually reached the stage which everybody would aspire for. So graduation day arrived. Okay, and this is a picture of alma mater. You can see here. And there is a long history about this particular picture. Sorry, I will not be able to talk about that today, but it's fascinating. I think at some point I'll definitely discuss with you about this particular picture portrait that you see here. Okay, this is also me graduating on, I forgot the day, but it's in May 2009. And I graduated with high hopes, of course, like everybody else. And this is, it's very true, by the way. What it says, okay, very good, congratulations. You will get your diploma in May. So, me, that's it. Yes, okay, now what? Okay, so we all aspire for not money in real sense. We all aspire for happiness. That's our quotient, right? It's not emotional quotient, it's not intelligence quotient, it's actually happiness that everybody is looking for. But remember, this is us. A donkey, you see this carrot dangling in front of him, you take one step, carrot also goes one step further. This is our happiness. You think that now you have graduated from one of the best schools in the US with good number of papers, now you will be happy. It didn't happen. I was not happy. Why? Because now I was looking for next thing. Abhi PhD ho gaya, abhi kya karenge? Abhi job dhoondna hai. So that is the next thing which is going to come soon. Okay, and in land of fortune, there come great recession. I graduated in 2009, recession started in 2008, and it stayed for a while. It was waiting for me to graduate. And this is exactly what you expect. So American dream is gone. And you look at, the numbers, numbers are falling down, you look at GDP, you look at petrol prices, whatever it is, when there is no business, when there is no money evolving within the country, of course, it's not going to work out for the citizens there. And first priority of job is given to citizens, US citizens, not outsiders like us. Okay? And my time was running out. Those who know this, we are on F1 status there as student, and you want to shift to H1B as soon as possible, right? But the time was ticking, and I was not really getting job. I applied to different places, और वो होता है ना कि I mean, you are still figuring out things, and then your professors say, Amit, you have done good job, you have published, very nice papers, you will get it. You will get it for sure. So I applied to Argonne National Lab, one of the very decent labs. This is in Chicago. I applied to SD, South Dakota State University, North Dakota, Michigan, Ohio, different places for faculty position. And I had no luck. I did not get job. And reason, probably I know now why. And I was absolutely prepared, to tackle real life situation, and what happens during that time. You get this difficult time in form of Shane Bond. And what he does is, he told you. See the beauty delivery? But the beauty of this life is you will get Shane Bonds, but at the same time, these things may also change in your favor. What that means is, I actually got postdoc opportunity in 2 places, in same University of Illinois and Cornell in just 2 months, which is not bad at all, considering the recession. Okay, remember, and also considering that I am not Native American, or I am not citizen. So, so this was the story. Okay, so I took this job, Yeah, this I so you look at the tough time. What happened to tough time? It had to go home. Okay, so I joined postdoc. Any postdoc in this class? No? Okay. You will become soon. Okay, some of you. So, and this was a real query, even though, I could find a good PhD comic, this caricature that you see here, one cartoon, but this is actually true. I went to my boss, he is my boss, Professor Kent Roche. I actually went to him and I asked him, do you think I should do postdoc or I should continue to apply for faculty position, which is not there. There are no vacancies anymore, so what should I do? So I was trying to understand what does it mean to have a postdoc job. So then he explained to me, and it's very true what he said, and which matches exactly with this. It's pretty much same as your last year in grad school, except you don't have to write thesis, which is a good thing, and you get paid twice as much. अब इससे अच्छा क्या हो सकता है? आपको thesis नहीं लिखनी है, you are paid twice. That's it? Yeah, that's it. So do I get respect also? And you know the answer. Right? So postdoc is a very difficult situation. I don't know, you know this word called Krishanku? कोई हिंदी वाला है यहाँ पर? Limbo situation, English में? Right? So I was in that situation. You are either a student, you are not a faculty, you are somewhere, hanging in the middle. And I was sort of facing that trouble with my boss. And then I worked there for a few months. Then I shifted to another opportunity because I wanted to explore. By the way, the kind of work I was doing, that was very different. It has nothing to do with my PhD, nothing to do with anything that I did in my past. I was working on flavor encapsulation. Okay, flavor encapsulation. I'll briefly tell you about this project. PepsiCo came to us with a request that what we want is, we use PepsiCo bottle, right? This is a bottle. So say this is your PepsiCo bottle, okay? And you will see this cap is intact and there is also a plastic cover on that, right? You have to somehow remove that first. Their idea was, when you remove this cover, this plastic polymer sheet from the top, it should release certain fragrance molecule and you should feel that you are actually peeling orange. Does it make sense? Okay? This is coming from PepsiCo. They gave us $50,000 for 6 months. Not a bad deal. But look at us, running after money, de do jo milta hai, de do, kar lete hain. And I took this, of course, as a postdoc and I worked on it. And somewhere my saturation came. We published whatever we could publish, something classified or, not classified, but they wanted to develop a pertinent area, which is forest biorefinery, which matches with what I did in past in biofuel area. So I made a shift from Illinois to Wisconsin. Wisconsin is like Gujarat of India. Gujarat is a dairy land, Wisconsin also dairy land. Gujarat में भी agriculture ठीक ठाक है. Wisconsin is also known for agriculture. Wisconsin is also known for beer. Gujarat is not. Okay, it's a dry area. Here it is quite wet. Okay, so I spent some time there. I worked for almost 6 months. But this slide, you may not find it interesting, but I know this story that happens in everybody's mind who's a postdoc. When will I reach there? When this time is going to come when I will become faculty or professor? Because this is a very, it's a free electron, of course, but it needs to find place where it can fit well. And this was my desire also, or my aspiration also, that at some point I should be able to reach there. And it happened in July 2010 when I joined as faculty at University of Wisconsin. So abhi carrot abhi bhi nahi that. Why? Because I'm sure professors know this. When you join US academic institutes, there is a very nasty term called tenure track. And tenure track में आपका जो carrot दिखाया था ना, उसका डंडा और लंबा हो जाता है. And you have to struggle for 5-6 years to get permanent for faculty position. India में तो आ गई एक बार, कोई नहीं हटा सकता 1 साल के probation के बाद. वहाँ ऐसा नहीं है. So there, once you are there, once you have joined this, you have to write grants, you have to write proposals, you have to hire students, you have to set up your lab and show to the university that you are a good person who can generate enough funding for the university. And portion of that funding will of course come to you so that you can use it. So I was also in that rut, and I worked there for 2.5 years almost. And then finally I decided, oh, it's too early, let me hold on to that first of all. I'll come to that. So what I did, I looked at Wisconsin Forest Biorefinery. And let me explain to you what this is. Wisconsin is a dairy land. Wisconsin produces a lot of beer. It has breweries, but it is also known for pulp and paper industry. Okay? Most of the paper that we use here in US, that comes from Wisconsin state. Majority of pulp and paper industry lies in Wisconsin. And when I was there, so this is the period of 2010 and 11. A lot of paper and pulp mills were shutting down. Two major reasons. One, of course, you saw hit recession. That was one. Second, people, at least this was in air, that now that we will become digital, people will stop using paper. Never happened though. But this was going around during that time. Third, China market actually disrupted this whole thing. China reduced the price quite significantly, and that had impact on that. Price, or I would say cost of production of pulp, that went up. That was another problem. So because of that, you see that these mills started shutting down. So Department of Defense. Now I'll tell you why I was hired, and it says, if you can read this last line, it's I was hired on Department of Defense funding. It's not state funding. Department of Defense funding on $4 million for downstream processing work. Downstream processing work meaning you want to make a product. Say you want to make say milk powder from milk. Once you make milk powder from milk, anything that goes waste, you have to take care of those things as well, right? So that downstream part, I have to take care of that, for example. So here my role was, how can I use my skills to produce bioethanol, biobutanol, bioisoprene and jet fuel. So I was hired on these, and there were three institutions I was working with: University of Wisconsin-Madison, Great Lakes Bioenergy Center, and University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. So these three institutions, and I had to make checker in these three places very regularly. And these are not very close by, 100 kilometers, 100 miles, not kilometers from my place, when you have to do a lot of traveling. So this is the process that you see here, how you produce paper. It's a very popular process called kraft process. In India, we also use the same process. Whether it's a JK paper or any other paper that you are using, all the paper that you are using, it's all largely coming from kraft process. It's very, very chemical intensive process, energy intensive process. If you look at water footprint, very high water footprint also. Okay. So idea was, so this is a regular process. Our idea was, these companies are shutting down. Can we do something to revive those? Instead of making paper, we'll make biochemicals, we'll make biofuels, we'll make jet fuel. That was the idea. Because now there is an incentive for that. We don't have to depend on UAE, we don't have to depend on Iran and so on. Right? So that was the idea, at least in the federal government's mind. We worked on that. So the project that I picked up was from biomass to isoprene. Have you heard this term called isoprene before? What is it? If it is not familiar, I'll tell you. Isoprene is a monomer of regular polymer of isoprene, which is basically rubber. Okay. So idea, again, now you have to understand this part, why this research was important in DOD's mind, Department of Defense mind. They wanted to have domestically produced tires. Okay. Do not depend on fossil fuels. You can make these tires from sugar. That was the idea. People would be happy to know that. Instead of eating that sugar, make tires. Right? That's much better. And that makes sense. So yeah, so we worked on that. So we thought of doing some work, and you can see state-of-the-art facility, 50-liter fermenter, very nice equipments and everything. And we could able to do something, and I also played a little role in that. We worked on second generation biofuels. This was another interesting thing. And you see what goes inside that. Chemical engineers will appreciate these things, process engineering. Everything was not that great, by the way. We spent at least in my tenure of 2.5 years, we realized whatever we have done, it's very difficult to say that these are actually useful. Okay, look at capex, opex, very high. Payback period for 50 million gallon plant is almost 8 years, which does not make sense, especially when you are having certain assumptions. Okay, and you know how engineers take assumptions, right? So दिन का रात assumption कर लेंगे तो कहानी खत्म हो जाती है. So that's the problem with these numbers. And we had no success in bioisoprene. DuPont was the only player across the globe who were also doing similar work, but our yield was 10 times lower than them. So, and I was not hoping that we are going to go anywhere in the next 3-4 years. And another waste products or bioproducts that come out, how do you add value to that? That was also sort of open. We could not figure out what to do with that. So what was the output of my tenure at University of Wisconsin? Not even a single paper. Okay, and I'm not bothered about paper. Okay, paper nahi hua. But did I get something useful out of it? Anything that I can say, okay, in 2.5 years I have done something which society can use, or at least industry can use, if not society directly. No. Manpower training, yes, we always do that. जब हम proposal लिखते हैं उसमें पहले चीज यही रहती है. Manpower training मिलेगी, society को फायदा मिलेगा, and all that. These are the tricks and tips how you write proposals. Yes, we did create state-of-the-art facility, which you have seen, right? We did that, and we got some interesting results. Interesting, US interesting is different from India interesting. Okay, so their interesting results could be good or bad, but that's good enough to get or attract more funding. That's how the system works there, right? So collectively, we burned $4 billion. I mean, with no meaningful output, and that's reality. I was hired. What was I making? $60,000 yearly. Okay, but how much I burned? Not me alone, but yes, I was also culprit. About $1 million say went into state-of-the-art facility. Rest $3 million I also don't know. Chala gaya. But matter it was no output. And this was sort of, in a way, it was not very. It doesn't give you that good feeling, right? You have spent so many years thinking that you are a good researcher, and then you get a blow right on your face that you have burnt $4 million with zero output. Okay, but I had good enough, results to make a nice report that will give me another $4 million. I did not do that, and this is about the time I thought this dilemma, of course, I was facing, to continue in land of dreams, or should I go back to land of chai and samosa, which you just had. Samosa nahi kuch aur khaya hoga aapne, right? So again, as I said, overarching goal was happiness quotient. So all these, when you are struggling, when you have unstable mind, you shift towards philosophy really quickly. You become a philosopher. Job नहीं मिल रहा है तो आपके विचार बदलने लग जाते हैं. थोड़ा कुछ डिले हो गया कहीं तो विचार बदलने लग जाते हैं. तो exactly same thing started happening. अभी वहाँ पे क्वेश्चन आया, ठीक है. अभी age parents versus green card. So my green card was processing. Right? और उसके अलग दीवानापन होता है कि जल्दी से ग्रीन कार्ड मिल जाए. बाद में हम इंडिया चले जाएंगे. Why are we doing this? इंडिया ही जाना था तो ग्रीन कार्ड क्यों ले रहे हैं? I was single, so we have to look at that. And one very interesting thing, you are always comparing dollar versus rupee. So आप अगर मैं इंडिया चला गया तो वहाँ पर सीधे 80 का फटका लगेगा, 1/80 हो जाएगा, 1/70 हो जाएगा, whatever it is. Right? So you look at all those things and then you take decision. Of course, this was not my choice, and I decided that I should go. Where to go? Sitara. And just like all of you, I was also asked the same question by Sitara. And you know the answer. We don't know the answer. Now you know the answer. So I was not smart enough like you to Google, use YouTube and get this. I had to work hard to get to Sitara. And I am not from rural area. Okay. My parents are not farmers, but I am here. Alright, so finally samosa weighed heavy over pizza. And I actually became part of Sitara family. So Rupal, you are wondering what's happening? So you are right there. If you know Professor Rupal, she is not going to digest that samosa so easily. So Of course, it's so fun, but say samosa has aloo, it has maida, basically it's all sugar. Insulin resistance, inflammation, Amit, do not take it. I said, thank God, she forgot omega-6 fatty acid. Okay, so this is fun. And I encourage all of you to take her course. She will teach you what to eat and how to eat. Very, very important. So this is also a message with my presentation. So this journey at Sitara started on 7 January 2013, 11 years now. How much time I have? 10 minutes. I'll quickly do this. Okay, and this was also very tough time for me when I started. My first footing in Sitara itself was very tough. In next 10 days, 10 to 12 days, I lost my father, and that was quite a shock. Years later, I saw this movie, MS Dhoni Untold Story, where it says, लाइफ में सब बॉल एक समान थोड़ा ना मिलेगा, मेरिट पर खेलना है और टिके रहना है, स्कोर बोर्ड अपने आप पड़ेगा. Then I realized what I did was not too bad. So even though that time was tough for me, after coming to Sitara, I could manage to stay well. Okay, so now comes research at Sitara. I don't know how many of you have seen this lab. Food processing lab, everybody has seen. From inside, happy about that? Nobody's saying yes, everybody's laughing. And same thing happened with these kids also. They also laughed. So some of them are students, some of them are interns, and they also laughed. And what did they say? So remember, I am coming from US, spending $1 million in creating state-of-the-art facility, and I end up in this room. This is a very nice picture, by the way. Okay? So yes, you see these chemicals, which I have to use to do world-class research, and that's it. That's the only space we have. And this is also borrowed lab space from Professor Shah, if you have met him. Okay? There is no lab as such. So what does she say? And this is again true. I'll read it out for you if you are not able to see this. So rural areas में safe drinking water नहीं है. हमारे यहाँ तो water ही नहीं है. Air pollution level दिल्ली से कहीं ऊपर है. We smell toxic fumes of acids क्यों? क्योंकि fume होते नहीं है. And I'll leave that part. If you Google it, you will find what is that. Sir को microbiological study करनी है. The student is saying. So we have rats, snakes, cats, dogs, also bacteria, fungus. Sir हम तो animal study भी कर सकते हैं यहाँ पर. मैं तो आई थी फर्क तो वापस जा रही है. सुनो सर को पायलट प्लांट लगाना है यहाँ पर. So these are all actually true. This is all we had gone through when we started setting up our research. And mind you, I did not come as a strong development person. Let me accept it. Let me admit that. I had strong background in experimental research and some modeling and simulation and all that. But never ever I thought that I am going to work in field directly without having any lab. So this was very difficult for me to times. Okay? And for good or bad, whatever. Mayur lost his setup, his MTech project. I don't know what happened. So my now biggest question was, how do I manage this without lab? And that is very, very tough. And as I said, when you don't have solutions, what do? You end up thinking more about it, become a little philosophical. So I did that too. So after 3 months pass, my questions become more philosophical. Are we representing extension unit of IIT Bombay? Are we handholders of NGOs or are we NGOs? Who are we? So we started with that thinking. And I made a presentation on 19th March 2013. This is still there with me. This same slide I am using today after 11 years. These are the questions that I posed in front of DPC. That time it was faculty meeting. Open to everybody, and I asked these questions, and I was looking for answers from senior faculty and also brainstorming, can we do something about it? And I'm still trying to find answers in some cases. Decided इसे छोड़ते हैं, थोड़ा घूम करके पता करते हैं कि क्या करना है. Lab जो है जब चलेगी तब चलेगी. So let us do something. So I spent major chunk of my time understanding the whole world development in sort of my comfort zone, you can say, because I was by training an agriculture engineer, so I could relate myself to certain things. So I thought it may be a good idea to talk to farmers, look at processing industry, rice mill, biofuel plant, talk to NGOs, rural urban market, and see what are the problems. And I am still continuing that, by the way. In 11 years, I have never stopped. I am still going with my students whenever the opportunity comes. And this gave me reasons, I burned $4 million in that US, Wisconsin. I am now realizing we are burning billions of dollars in India every year. Okay? And this picture that you see, you might have seen it before also. Food loss alone gives $13 billion of loss every year in India. Okay? And that's pretty significant. And look at our global hunger index, that's also very, very pathetic. So we are in that phase. So then I realized $4 million खराब भी कर दे तो कोई बात नहीं. Now there is a scope. Now we can do something in this particular area. और उतना तो compensate कर लेंगे. $4 million जब नुकसान करके आए, उतना तो आराम से हो जाएगा. Because you see the kind of problems we are facing. Okay, and all these pictures, of course, these are all familiar. So all these losses you see here. So I thought, okay, so let me do something in this area. So I thought one of the easiest thing for me is look at perishable items like fruits, fruit production, food processing industry, and do something within that reason. So we actually figured out how much waste do we generate in food processing industry. We figured out those numbers. Again, I am not going to get into details, we have limited time. And we figured out that all the waste that is generated from the food processing industry, a lot of it, or I would say most of it, gets wasted. You dispose it, it's a high BOD problem, you dump it. At the best, we can do biogas generation. That's about it. Okay, so that was the idea. Then we looked at this whole thing with a different lens. Can we generate some value from that? And not just value in terms of dollar or rupee, but also can we also address certain lifestyle diseases? So that was in the back of my mind, because I realized that when my father passed away, he was very healthy, he was very active and all that, but I don't know what happened, I was not there with him. So I realized something might have gone wrong, which nobody paid attention to. So I thought it's a great area which I should look into, and all those reasons for silent death can be avoided. And this is one thing I was trying to combine. How do we look at these things together? I think these things, of course, if you attend Dr. Ruper's class, you will get a lot of good data on that, diabetes data. The point I am just making is diabetes is no longer a urban problem. It is rural as well. Okay? This is NFHS 5 data that shows that it's rampant everywhere in the whole country. Every household, if you look at every 3 households, one household you will find one diabetic person, 33%. This is pan-India data. And I'm not talking about Kerala, Lakshadweep, where percentage, but every 2 there is one diabetic person. Okay, why it happened? I think most of us know it now. We have moved away from traditional diet to convenience foods. We have sedentary jobs, calorie overdose, protein deficiency, micronutrient deficiency, and so on. So we worked into that. We developed, I think most of you have seen my slides before. So our idea was whatever we are generating as a waste in food processing industry, we should extract value from that, and more in terms of nutraceuticals and food as medicine, quote unquote. So we use the same concept of biorefinery that we use in Wisconsin or Illinois, and see whether we can generate some value out of it. Okay, so it's a black box. You feed material, it comes in the black box, and it's going to give you several products. But remember one thing, we need to have a process which is not going to consume a lot of energy, not going to have a good, strong water footprint, minimum risk, minimum waste. You all have to reduce that so that you can look at sustainability aspect as well. So we did all that, and I'll quickly skip. I think some of you have, or most of you have seen these slides. Mango processing waste is one example where we have shown we can extract many products out of it, and it has good value, $11–13 per kg, polyphenol $20 to $100 per kg, and so on. So it actually makes a viable business. We did this for pomegranate biorefinery, we did for pineapple biorefinery, and this was covered well by news dailies, some awards, and all that happened. One question was, what will happen to every residue in India? Delhi ki parali problem thodi solve kar diya humne, right? So we looked at that model as well with the system approach to solve real problem of non-woody biomass. This was work done by one of my students, Pradhan. So he looked at how you can, with a conceptual framework, you can make a good business out of it. Those who are interested, you can read those papers. But point is, you collect the biomass, pelletize it, and then connect to thermal boiler industry, sell them, and make a business out of it. So we did some work here. You can see here. Clearly, you see traditional chulha versus gasifier gas cook stove. Both PM10 and PM22.5. These are all done in a pilot scale. They are all within the limits now. This is your air quality index. This is what we have reached. This is your traditional chulha values. So it worked out well. So I'll skip this. This is second part of it. So this is related to the biorefinery part, but I also get into malnutrition space. I'll take 5 more minutes. Okay. And so malnutrition was, and let me admit, this was absolutely new area for me, and I had to figure out what exactly I have to do. And I have my 2 teachers right here. Professor Agnihotri is right there. Dr. Rupal is right here. Both are my teachers and collaborators, and we enjoy working in this area, all of us in this space. So I'll not take much time. I'll just spend some time in giving you a flavor of what we are doing. She is sitting right here. This is her work. Whole PhD is summarized in one slide. It's a tough task, right? So what she is doing, we are looking at, anemia is a huge problem. Sorry, I skipped this slide, but it's worth looking at it. This is anemia data. Okay. So she is trying to come up with a food product, okay, that can handle this problem. So you consume very nice food product like snacks, and you are consuming good amount of iron, which is bioavailable. Which bioavailable meaning which you can absorb, your body can absorb, and improve your iron status and other status as well. So she had a chance to talk to Miss Elizabeth Foray. She is, anybody know who is she? WFP Director India. Right. So she had opportunity to talk to her, and Shruti is here.
Yes.
Shruti is right there. Shruti is working. So Shruti is student of Professor Agnihotri, and I am also co-guide. She is working on a magic sachet pack, which can address many micronutrients deficiencies in one go. Okay, you just take a sachet, cut it, put it in anything that you are eating, and then it will give you enough of micronutrients. In a food form, there is no chemical involved. Third thing, we see here, a lot of people, they don't prefer egg. And I know Dr. Rupal is a great supporter of egg, but we are saying, what about those people who do not eat egg? Can we just leave them just as such, or do we find some solution, something for them? So our idea was, can we develop something which can give, if not at par or on par, at least very close in terms of nutrition profile to what egg can provide. So we had worked in this area, we are still continuing to work in that area. Manali, Purnima, they are helping. Sakshi was the first student, civil engineer turned food scientist. Okay, interesting. And this is ideal. Shruti met with Eliza, and it's worth reading that. I love meeting amazing students of IIT Bombay today who are devising innovative solutions to tackle malnutrition, food waste, water scarcity, climate change, and more. These great minds are social entrepreneurs of the future. I think most of you were there at that time. So this message is for all of you. We looked at protein deficiency. Can we do something here? We cannot match up with what egg can provide, of course, and I completely agree with that. The problem is, as I said, not everybody can eat egg. That is one issue. But there are other major issues which we have overlooked, and that is, I'll skip all that. That is this part. Okay. This is all recent work. Chemicals used to freshen up rotten meat in West Bengal. Prevalence and antimicrobial resistance of Salmonella enteritis is in poultry. Silent killer of Indian farms. So now we are basically making poultry as farm factory. When you change this narrative of a poultry to a factory, then you are just maximizing the returns. फिर उसके लिए आपको हार्मोन देना पड़े, उसके लिए आपको केमिकल्स देना पड़े, कुछ देना पड़े, you don't mind, because finally you are looking at numbers, right? This is exactly what is happening in our country, and there is no regulation. FSSAI ने release कर दिया, कागज release करने से थोड़ी control हो जाएगा. So then these things are very rampant even today, and this is a recent work published by CSE, says antibiotic misuse in poultry farms leading to multi-drug resistance bacteria. Now how this is going to create problem? It is going to alter our microbiome, our gut micro community that we have, which decides our health. Okay, drop in potent antioxidant in our body that fights with all those toxins, and inflammation, which itself creates hundreds of problems. So welcome to metabolic disorder if you are consuming a lot of eggs. Okay, if it is controlled, it's very good. If it is not controlled, then this is bound to happen. And let me give you some figures. In India, we produce about 129.3 billion eggs every year. We are 1.4 billion, so roughly we have about 90 eggs per person per year. And this graph is very skewed. Some people can get 200, some people are nowhere even one. Right? Those who are taking more, which is not controlled, they are in trouble. Even though they are doing everything else good, they will still be facing a lot of issues. So we got into that. We thought it's a good idea to look into those aspects. So we did some research in this, from very small scale to big scale, and we developed a process which is going to improve the bioavailability of regular plant-based protein, which is not considered very good quality in terms of amino acid profile. What we did, we selected two good plant-based candidates protein, mixed them in such a way that they actually have synergy between two. इनमें कुछ missing है, इसमें कुछ missing है, उनको मिला दिया तो this complete हो गया, and it works, right? So this is what we did. So I'll skip for want of time. We worked on prebiotics. Just 1 minute. 2020, I went to US again once more. This was COVID time, so I'll not get into that. I'll skip that part. So what I am doing now, ongoing work, 30 seconds only. Now we are looking at, I think, very important part. We can discuss it later. Omega-3 fatty acids. You saw Dr. Rupal's slide, omega-6 खा रहे हो, right? It means omega-3 आपको खाना चाहिए, but आप खा रहे हो omega-6. Now omega-3, if you look at everybody's diet, you will realize you're already deficit of omega-3. So we are now finding out, can vegetarians have options of consuming more omega-3 fatty acid for them? That is one thing, proof of concept we have done. Nutritional merits of jaggery, we are trying to understand whether jaggery is healthier option than sugar or it is just कहने के लिए. We are trying to capture choline-rich new food formulations. Those who do not know choline, you must attend Dr. Rupal's lecture, especially for when child takes birth. This was a very important role to play there, right there. Going forward, last slide. We are looking at now. We are developing strong ties with Tata Memorial Hospital and Advanced Center of Treatment Research and Education Center in Cancer. We are looking at can food route beat cancer in any way. Okay, so that's a very interesting area. We don't know much about it, but we are figuring out whether we can do something in this. Smart food formulations for anti-aging. We have just started this work very recently. Our research group is very active in this space now, and this is the last thing that you see. I'll leave it here, but last thing that you see, this people who are facing osteoporosis problem, they take calcium, they take vitamin D3. धूप में बैठने घंटों फिर भी उनको प्रॉब्लम होती है, because there is something called vitamin K2 which is missing in our diet, especially vegetarians. So can we heal that situation with some solution in mind? We are looking into that aspect also. Okay, that is 10 seconds.
So yeah,
Okay, all right. So finally, this seminar is incomplete if I do not mention my students and my collaborators. So very important. So I work with Professor Rao, Professor Raus, Professor Notri, Dr. Rupal is right here, Vishal, Professor Shah, list is long. And also I have some international collaboration. You can see Australia, UK, US, Germany, and one person in China. And this person is safe. So nothing wrong with that. Okay, so my first student, Jumur, who graduated in 2017, so she got Excellence in Research Award, and she was pretty lucky. She got this award from Europe. So, PM Modi ji. We had another Banerjee, she also got this. तो अगर किसी को Excellence in Research Award चाहिए, तो आपको Banerjee बनना पड़ेगा. Because of omega-3. पर Chatterjee को नहीं पड़ेगा. Chatterjee didn't get. Okay. No, but the point is valid, right? So you should consume omega-3. So this is a team, and I'll just quickly tell you what these people are doing now. Most of them are in limbo position now. Okay, they are doing postdoc. They are in US, Australia. You can see some of them. Sakshi is doing PhD in University of Tokyo. Atul is in North Carolina State University. AIT Bangkok, you have Lawrence Berkeley National Lab. How many of you attended Professor Gartner's lecture? He is from same place. So this guy, Ramakrishna, he is there now. Pradhan, he was in MIT, now he has joined as faculty at IIT Kharagpur. And very interestingly, we also have two co-founders. So we have startups coming out now in Sitara, and one founder is sitting right there, should be. And it says founder is Nutrient. We have another co-founders right there on the top. Person is sitting there. Onion Grand Challenge winners. They have co-founded a company called Ozone. And this guy that you see on the left hand side, which you can't see him at all, he is in Flipkart. Okay, he is Rajat, by the way. Rajat actually started this work on Onion. He was my first student who worked on this. And do not underestimate this guy. He is in 4th standard now. Okay, thank you very much.
Alright, great. Thank you. Thanks as always. You could have gone on, but always looking at the clock and you might have a hard stop at 7. So, yeah, so we'll open it up for questions. So, questions that you are scared to ask in class or not allowed to ask in class.
This is the moment.
This is the time, yes. I'll come to Omkar. Anyone in the master's first year students who are being harassed by Amit?
I don't know what else.
That they have to say.
Please say.
Or you can pass me your questions on a sheet of paper. Tell me your names, I will not tell him. Everybody is scared of you.
Thank you so much, sir. So it was a great understanding. It was great to know how you have. And then it's a typical PhD scholar's question. And right now in 3rd year, so I have seen that the completion of your PhD duration and the number of publications. So if I am not wrong, lesser than 4 years and the number of publications are 8. So
7 actually, 8
yeah.
postdoc ka chipak gaya.
So I quickly counted them.
These are 8.
So any quick comment or tips for how you
Publication part?
publications?
Okay. Well, I think let me not also disillusion you with this number. Some things are, it also depends on the area in which you are working. There are areas where even publishing 2 papers is very commendable. I would urge you, I would encourage you, I would request you, do not count numbers, count quality. I would say out of my 8 papers, 3 are very, very good, बाकी 3 ठीक है. So 3 के 4 भी निकले तो I would have been equally happy, if not more. Right? So that should be the focus. Now, how do you publish? That's a great question, and we can discuss that offline also. I think to be able to publish, one thing has to be very clear. How do you formalize the problem that you have? You can solve a problem very easily. You know everything. But if you can formalize it, then you can publish it also. Formalization, I think, is the key, especially in this sector where we are working. And within now development sector, when we work, there are many things which are undone even in my research domain, which is super hard for me to formalize in a way that can be accepted by good journals. It is a task. It's not easy. Okay, and it's a constant effort for us. फिर लगता है कि ये missing है, ये भी डाल देते हैं, ये missing है, ये भी डाल देते हैं. Finally, it gets accepted. It takes a lot of effort. तो आपको वो देखना है कौन से key elements missing है, which will probably complete this story, and it works. And we have a great example in Ashi's case. We published this work on anemia with Shekhar. So Shekhar looked at spatial statistics part. She looked at more metabolism side, and one paper, I have never seen such paper. You Google it and you can also confirm. One paper is a sort of review paper, but there is also your opinion, which is scientific opinion plus GIS coming together in one paper. Very, very rare. But we could do that. Okay? So that is something else. Yeah. Yeah. I can hear you anyways.
Use the mic.
Thank you so much, sir. I have 2 questions. The first one is a very minor
आपके लिए
No,
मेरे लिए नहीं होगा।
it's a major question for you. For your PhD topic, like you had selected, so I'm a person who doesn't understand any of this, so forgive me. You had chosen to look at a membrane instead of the evaporator. What is wrong with the evaporator, or what are its drawbacks that you actually decided to do that?
One of the major problems with evaporator is evaporator fouling. Fouling. Have you ever boiled milk at home? When you boil milk, continue to boil 3-4 times, what happens to the patila? You see scaling formation? All that milk malai gets accumulated and it gets burnt, and it's very difficult to remove. As it happens, you are basically compromising with heat transfer efficiency. So you are putting more money, more energy, more everything, but your output is less. So our goal was, you select a non-thermal process and control these aspects as much as possible. Because what happens in a regular evaporator system, those who are mechanical engineers, they know this, you have to shut down the plant for cleanup. Okay, so you are right there, you are losing operational efficiency. You don't want to do that. They want to run this plant as long as possible within a year, typically 330 days. That's the question.
So, since you had the experience of US, and as far as I'm seeing, this may be wrong, I'm not very new, but PhDs generally get added to specific, it tends to get over there faster. But this is, I understand it's topic based and it's quantitative and it's very dependent on equipments. Do you think it's like in India it takes them, I don't know.
More time?
Yeah, it takes more time because, is it because of the lab setting up, like when you came here you immediately had a shock of seeing the lab, which you've never, so we are at the premier institute of this country. So
Right.
the funding and the setting up of lab, and what did you do finally? Like you went around and saw the country and everything, saw the Sitara perspective, and then what did you do?
What did I do?
Yeah, and the lab work.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm being very honest, I struggled. In the initial phase, I really struggled, and Professor Anand Rao knows it very clearly. He actually, I mean, he was a great helping hand for me at that time. He realized that time, I think that was 2013 or 14 probably, so he realized that Amit is not going to get space here. He took me to Professor Rangan Banerjee, do you remember? He took me there in energy sciences and requested him, can he get some space there? Okay, so that was the situation, we did not have any space. So he was sort of, elder brother to me who helped in this. This is a separate matter that we could not get space there because there also there is a problem. It's a whole institute. So we started with two things. One is collect as much data as possible. That was the initial thing. And do whatever we can do at lab scale, to whatever extent we can start, we did that. Part of the work I shifted to other labs. Other labs meaning कुछ chemical में कर लिया, कहीं दूसरी जगह हाथ पांव जोड़ लिए, कहीं कुछ कर लिया. So you also become very resourceful in a way. You know कैसे हाथ जोड़ के काम कराना है. थोड़ा बहुत वो भी कराया. कराया मतलब जरूरत है. So necessity है. So you have to do this. Parallelly, our group was super active in terms of roaming around and collecting data. Very, very active. So all money that I had, when you join as a faculty in IIT, you get 20 lakhs. अभी पता नहीं क्या rate है, but 20 lakhs मिलता है to set up your lab. One equipment is going to cost 80 lakhs. तो क्या मिलेगा 20 lakhs later भी, right? So what we did, we that way I think it was sort of blessing in disguise. We used that money to collect data. All those things that you saw, whether it's NGO visit, whether your rural industry visit, rice mill visit, all that we did as much as possible. दो बच्चों को वहाँ भेजा, दो को वहाँ भेजा, जहाँ मैं गया, मैं भी गया, सब. So we collected a lot of data there, and that helped us a lot because you need perspective. You should know where to work, what has to be addressed. Once that is clear, it becomes much easier. We also made friends with agricultural universities. So some of the things they helped us doing that. It was not easy, I can tell you that much. And we are still struggling with the space, by the way. So the journey is just continuing. Yeah.
Any other questions?
I had like two questions. First is that because you had exposure to biofuels and different versions of it, did you not try to explore that in India, and why not? And then, sorry, I'll just finish my second question. Is that you showed us pictures like about agricultural waste and food waste, but like you must have also understood like why exactly it's getting wasted in the first place, right? So like, have you also like tried to look at that problem in terms of why is that waste getting generated, except for say longer shelf life, because you know that is not like the only reason, that is like not even the reason.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So this is very important question, and actually we very carefully looked at this problem, what you just mentioned. What we realized, you know, when you are working with industry, or at least when you want to understand their mindset, the way it works is they are very good in generating profits, and they are happy doing that. The moment you say that, can you just change your course little bit and do this so that you can increase your profit by this margin? Answer will be very clear, no. They know that it's a waste, they know that it can generate some value, but they do not move away from status quo. It's very difficult. And there are reasons for that. The moment you start using these biomaterials, so-called, you need to get, so there is an MBA, you are aware of MBA? So you have National Biodiversity Act. So you have to apply for those, get approval from the government, and then it's a long story there. So they do not get into those things. And especially for small and medium scale industry, they would never do that because they don't see scale. So they don't want to get into that at all. If there is, and there are few companies who are very interested in that, but these are all MNCs there. Problem with MNCs is, वो क्या करेंगे, आएंगे यहाँ पर, हमसे सस्ते में औने में टेक्नोलॉजी लेके चले जाएंगे, they will sell this product somewhere else, in European countries for example. And this is happening. If I don't do it, somebody else is doing it. So that is already there.
And
Yeah,
the first question,
First was,
why did you work on biofuel?
why did I work on biofuels? You know, this is where field visit helps so much. I remember 2014 or end of 2013, we got an assignment from ILFS. Me, Professor Anand Rao and Professor Bakul Rao were involved in that project. It's in Aurangabad. So what they do is a green energy production. So they use agriculture residues to produce bioelectricity. We looked at that project very carefully. We wanted to understand why, you know, their whatever plant capacity that they decided, they are not able to run at full load factor, full plant capacity. 50%, I think about 50%. It was 13 megawatt plant, but they were not able to run even 9 or 10, something like that. They were always lower. We wanted to know why. Is it a technology glitch or something else is happening? And during this course, we realized, we always say in India we have about 300 million tons of biomass which is surplus. What we found out, there is no surplus biomass in that location. Okay, so they are bringing a lot of biomass from other regions. Biomass is traveling 100 kilometers to reach to that facility. Is it going to be sustainable now? One has to ask these questions, right? So I don't know whether that plant is running anymore, but that's the reality. So supply chain logistics is a major hurdle. It's not easy to solve that problem.
Yeah, anyone else? Maybe last two questions because we might have to wrap up. And we will treat at the end as well.
Thank you, sir, for this captivating articulation of how you went through your research. My question was the alternative solutions that you came up with. So I wanted to know your perspective about the scale of the alternative solution. Till what extent it can replace the other, and what are the negative aspects of that, and if that becomes, if biofuel becomes the new generation perspective about this.
In my research, I don't know whether I should say that I can correct what you are saying, but maybe I have not understood it correctly. So let me put things in perspective. What I was saying, we are trying to develop products which are needed for society. It is We are not talking about biofuels, we are not talking about biochemicals, we are looking at, I am essentially talking about the nutrition side more than anything else. These products are not available in market at all. At all. So day before yesterday, Dr. Rupal was asking me, Amit, do you have a solution for omega-3 for vegetarians? You did ask me that question two days ago. It means there is need. Somebody has to fill that. Somebody has to do research to be able to address those things. These are the space which we are trying to capture. Okay? So there is no, I don't know, you want to say it again or articulate it again for me?
Just give it back to her. Maybe she has a follow-up question or a clarification.
Yeah, because I think I did not get you
She's asking
correctly.
something else, yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, go ahead, please.
So if you can be a little more simple in terms of giving the question.
Or ask
So
more
I
difficult
just
appreciate it.
wanted to know, like, if they are these products, and what about if it starts produced in masses?
Okay. Okay. So okay, I understood. So your question is, if everybody is starting the same thing, then you will have much more supply than demand. Is it what you are asking? Did I get it correctly? Kind of. Okay.
What's the scale that you have thought, like,
Okay.
it's the need, but then is it just to fulfill the needs or beyond that?
Okay. First of all, need in India is in billions. Okay. We have pretty good number of people who would need this first. So I don't think that we will be able to match to that demand level that we have on paper at least. We have people, even non-vegetarians, who are only for namesake non-vegetarians. They also need this support. Okay, and we do not want to get into capsule mode of administering. Take one capsule and supplement and get this done. No, take food route. Get familiar with what you are already familiar with, but in a different manner. Okay, so I don't think that we are fighting in this particular mode. That what will happen if my neighbor also starts doing the same thing at a different scale. Scale problem nahi aayegi yahan. Question, the more important question that I would see is, can I make it at low scale, where I can also engage, for example, self-help group, right, to give them opportunity in terms of some incentive for making those products, and these products will then go around and help people in terms of improving their nutrition. So I would take that approach. You can always scale it up, and I think that's what Shruti is trying to do now. She wants to come to a level where it can be scaled up and be able to address, if nothing else, at least 5 to 10 lakh people easily every day. Every day. That's our goal.
So, hello sir. That was really an amazing journey with the presentation, I would say. My question is with advancement to the question of sowing itself, considering the aspect of entrepreneurship and the research part of this space, because this entire space of food, nutrition, health is evolving in terms of product or consultant-based things. So, I have basically two questions. One is regarding the scope of this entire sector, like in terms of entrepreneurship, what would be the scope, or what are your point of views for that? And second, considering entrepreneurs, so there are two kinds of entrepreneurs. One would be the researcher, they get a product and then they turn to an entrepreneur, or an entrepreneur who decides to solve a problem and then they experiment with their product to find a particular product which they could scale up at the end. So what would be your suggestions for the researchers like us in that aspect?
I think this is high time when everybody should seriously think about social entrepreneurship. Let me put it this way. It has its own advantages, of course. Can it be done right every time? Answer is no. Shall we not try it? It means answer is no. We should try, and we have shown some great examples. Look at Professor Agnihotri, student Vikas and Shariyu. They have created a model which is worth looking at. Right? It's amazing thing that they have done, and they did not start with research, by the way. They found a problem in the society. They could address those problems very carefully with proper approach, and they were able to address it well. Of course, there is a government support, there is support from other machineries, but they are doing extremely well. So this is one part, only entrepreneurship. When you bring food into it, let me also admit one thing. Only area in this whole academic or research domain which is most confusing is food. Am I admitting this? even though I have some relation with food. It is most confusing. I cannot say for sure that I understand this space well. It is so wide, it is so much unknown, so very unknown. It's very difficult to say that we know things. आने वाले 10 सालों में आज मैं जो बोल रहा हूँ हो सकता है सब गलत हो. It may just change everything. So it's a highly confusing thing. There are certain things which are sort of getting traction now, which will stay for a while. I think those areas can be tapped very, very well in this space. As I mentioned, omega-3 fatty acids, those who don't know, if you know importance of flaxseed, if you know importance of DHA and EPA, or at least egg or fish oil, right? It improves your intelligence. It gives you, there are hundreds of advantages of consuming it. But when you look at the market, everything is again in supplement mode. So you will have great opportunity to work in this space. And I read somewhere very recently, this is going to become a huge problem for India, the deficit of these things, and it will be just like diabetes or something. Okay, very recently I read that article. So scope is huge in this particular space, there is no doubt. So one should definitely consider these things. Now the second question is,
I'm really sorry, we have to leave in 5 minutes because next class is coming.
okay, so I'll complete the answer.
Yeah, please. Okay, very quickly. Yeah.
Sure. So short answer is, when you are doing research, you can point out that these are the issues. Sometimes can be, if you have that, of course, that fire in that feet, if you feel that they should go to market, you will do that anyway, whether there is support or not. And now, with Government of India's effort, all these incubation centers, I think it is possible to get that. And I always love to help such startups.
Okay, couple of, no, there's no time. There's no time.
Is there any topic you can't teach? He can teach anything or everything on this planet.
Okay, there's a quick announcement from.
Good evening everyone. I'm not going to ask a question.